By now, we've all heard about shooting Apple Log on the iPhone 15 Pro or Pro Max, and it's great, but man, those ProRes files are huge, and in particular, if you're just doing something for social media. Well, if you're doing something for social media, ProRes is not the way to go, and it would deter you from using Apple Log. But there is a solution using a third-party app. The Blackmagic Camera app allows you to shoot Apple Log in HEVC, which is H.265, or an H.264, which is the standard MPEG-4 we've been shooting for years. Now, the benefit to that is that you can shoot, again, Apple Log in a much smaller file, and that allows you to do it for social media, etc. But the question is, does it work the same shooting on these compressed formats like it does with ProRes? Because with ProRes, you get the sharpening turned off and you get dynamic tone mapping. Very importantly, you get dynamic tone mapping turned off or all the way down to where you don't even notice it. And if you know anything about dynamic tone mapping, you don't want it when you're shooting video. All right, so I'm using Batman as my subject today, and first up, I'm shooting standard HEVC with a baked-in Rec 709 look. This is more or less exactly what you would shoot with in the native camera app. And this is what most people have shot with for years before Apple Log came along. So I'll do a sample clip of this. And the one thing you'll notice, let me lock that real quick actually. And so now I've got the exposure and focus locked on Batman. But when I put my hand in here, you'll notice real subtly the exposure shifts. It's very subtle, but it does shift, and you can see it across the whole image. That is dynamic tone mapping, and that is what you don't want when shooting professional video. So now let me jump over to Apple Log, and so now I'll shoot an Apple Log clip, and when I do that, you don't get any dynamic tone mapping. Or if dynamic tone mapping is there, because we don't know for sure, Apple's pretty secretive on that kind of stuff, it looks like it's totally gone, but it might be just slightly there, but it's not shifting the exposure anymore. And then the other thing is sharpness is turned off or turned way, way down. And so now you get a much cleaner image. And again, I'm shooting in HEVC, not ProRes. And then here is the trick to use if you're shooting anything like social media or family videos or something, and you don't want to have to deal with dynamic tone mapping and over sharpening. And again, why would you? Go into the LUT menu, display the LUT, but then go ahead and select record LUT to clip. Now, just to emphasize, if you're shooting ProRes or if you want to color grade this stuff in post-production, do not, I repeat, do not bake it in. However, in this situation, the idea here being that you're doing this for everyday videos and you don't want to have to deal with color grading and stuff in post-production, then go ahead and bake it in. But you're getting the benefits of Apple Log, and so you're getting no dynamic tone mapping and no sharpening. See, the LUT is baked in and I'm getting a nice image. And so I'll go ahead and record that. And you can see the LUT image is now red. That tells you that you're baking that LUT in. And so while you're shooting Apple Log, you don't have the same flexibility in post-production, but you're getting the benefits of Apple Log in camera. And that is a huge thing if you're shooting stuff, again, everyday videos and social media videos. This is the way you should do it. So now we'll compare these side by side. And so here is the baked in look. And again, it doesn't look bad. It just looks like iPhone footage. It's crunchier, doesn't have near as much dynamic range, of course. And again, it has the dynamic tone mapping issues and it has the sharpening. Now here is Apple Log. And then of course, in post-production, you would have to color correct this, color grade this. And I'm using one of my LUTs here. And now that looks great, but you do have to color correct that in post-production. And now here is shooting Apple Log, but with a baked in LUT. And this looks great too. The main thing you've got to do is pick the LUT you want in camera, because again, you have limited control in post-production. Of course, you can adjust the white balance and exposure and stuff a little bit, just like we do with any footage, but you really want to get the look right in camera. And now here are a few more examples to show the comparison. So the main negative I found with this method is that you can't control the bit rate currently in the Blackmagic Camera app. And so it looks like it's about 35 megabits per second, which isn't bad. I mean, it's okay. It's about equivalent to the native camera app, but it's definitely not high end. So if you're going to shoot Apple Log and HEVC, I would probably do it baked in and not color grade in post, because the footage doesn't perform nearly as well as ProRes would for obvious reasons. It just isn't as high quality of footage. So yeah, ultimately shooting H.265 HEVC or H.264 with Apple Log works great. But if you're going to do anything more involved or more serious or something you really care about, and again, that you want to do color grading on or visual effects, then definitely shoot ProRes. But for everyday kind of stuff, and if you want to bake in a LUT to this H.265 footage, it really does work pretty well, and it's a great solution to not have to worry about that crunchy, over sharpened, and not the best looking footage when it's coming directly out of the camera. And again, that's what using a third-party app like Blackmagic allows over using the native camera app. And speaking of Blackmagic, I do have a brand new course coming that will be released very soon, and depending on when you're watching this, it may already be released. The link is in the description of this video. And if you want to bake in a LUT into your footage, or just use a LUT, a preview LUT, then be sure to check out my LUTs on my website at iPhoneographers.tv. I've got standard LUTs for Apple Log or film look LUTs, depending on your project. Well, thanks for watching. This is Blake Calhoun. Please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.